basically, when we were checking out, the lady who was scanning our items was like, oh, you're having an expensive day today, spending so much money. The next one is a big one. And it's a big one because, let me tell you why. The next one that it was a big culture shock for me is that in the Netherlands, you practice reactive medicine, whereas in the States, where I come from, we practice preventative medicine. Now, for me, this is like an especially big one because my dad is a doctor and he really believes in preventative medicine. So if you know, and I worked in my dad's clinic for many, many years. I was there when I was studying. I was a receptionist. I was, booking appointments and things. And along the way, you learn things. Like you just pick up things, of course, as you would in any work environment. So for me, one of the biggest lessons and messages that I learned is that when you practice preventative medicine, the benefits of that, like while the cost might seem big up front that you're going to spend like money doing this and this and this test, in the end, you might catch something a little bit sooner. And so if somebody is sick or dealing with something and you catch it earlier, then it's most likely going to cost less to fix the problem, if that makes sense. So the treatment, the actual, like the biggest part of the cost of somebody's medical care, the treatment is going to be lower because you've caught it earlier. Therefore, you need less of the expensive treatment, right? In the Netherlands, that is not the case. A huge culture shock to me was that women here do not get annual women's exams or pap smears or those kind of tests on an annual basis. That does not happen here annually. In fact, you don't get that until you turn 35. 35. That's the first time that you would go to and not even to the gynecologist. You go to correct me, is it 30 or 35? Whatever it is, it's too late. It's too late because by the time that you are 30, most likely you've been sexually active and most likely you may have had more than one partner. Okay? I'm not judging. I don't care. You do you. It's fine. But if you are a sexually active woman, the minute that you become sexually active, you should be going to the gynecologist and getting checked for things. Making sure that you're healthy, and pap smears are huge for that. So preventing cervical cancer and preventing STDs and things, and that's caught via pap smears. And the fact that you don't get that on a regular basis, on an annual basis from the day that you turn 18, to me is shocking. Also, the fact that when you do go to have your pap smear done, you don't get a breast exam. Like that is something that goes hand in hand in the States. So having they call it a woman's wellness exam, you get a pap smear and they check your breast for lumps to prevent breast cancer. And they also teach you how to do it yourself so that during the course of the year, when you have a shower, you can check yourself. And then if you feel a lump or something, you can get that taken care of or get it looked at right away. So this is huge for me, and the fact that that is not something that happens in the Netherlands was a culture shock. I must admit that with my health issues, which have not been numerous, luckily, thank goodness, like I am satisfied with the level of medical care that I have had here. I am fine with going, the Dutch way and doing things the Dutch way. It has been okay for me. I am satisfied. That doesn't mean that I don't hear stories from friends and neighbors and colleagues and relatives and people who are not. They have had issues come up and issues that could have been prevented, or the symptoms could have been drastically reduced had their issues been caught earlier. So yeah, I understand that the discussion here is about reducing costs, but in the end, whether it actually reduces costs to not practice preventative medicine, I don't know. From my experience, it doesn't. But then again, the US health system is like, it's messed up and it's totally different than here. So I cannot compare, but I wish that there was a bit more preventative medicine and a little bit less like paracetamol cures everything. Yeah, I don't know. moving on. It was a culture shock for me to get used to living my life without a car. For a long time, I didn't have a car here. In fact, we didn't even end up getting a car until we had a child. So that's when we moved from public transportation, which is phenomenal here. We moved to having a car when we had a child. But we lived here for 5 years before we had a child. So the fact that for 5 years, I had to get used to navigating the Dutch weather, which again, we have a beautiful sunny day. And there's a reason that I film on days like this. It gives you a nice image, but I will never forget the winters, trying to go do my weekly grocery shopping. Yes, I know that some people here do it daily or like every few days. Nope, I'm a weekly grocery shopper. Say what you will, but having my little my little cart, like pulling it behind me, dressed like completely in like rain gear and windproofed and everything, and then just like, you know, walking to the supermarket, getting so sweaty underneath, like getting totally gross, getting all like wet from the rain or the drizzle or the miser. Yeah, Daan, how's that? Getting used to like the miser type rain. Miser. But getting used to that, you know, forget putting on makeup, forget doing my hair, like that all had to happen after we came home from the supermarket, because by the time that we did the shopping and came home, I was guaranteed to be a sweaty, gross mess. And that was just not what I was used to. So yeah, that took some getting used to. And actually, to be completely honest with you, I never got used to it. And in fact, my quality of life in the Netherlands improved so much when we bought a car. Getting a car made me feel like I could, oh, excuse my dog. I'm sorry, there's a delivery person here. Sorry. But getting a car, for me, meant freedom in Dutch weather. That I could go anywhere, do anything, whether that was going to work and arriving like dry, or you know, going to the supermarket, and it didn't matter what the weather was, like, and knowing that I'd be okay. That was huge for me. So yeah, getting a car was what helped me get over this whole navigating life in the Dutch weather. A lot of you commented that Dutch weather is fabulous, and I'm so glad that you think that. You know, we are all entitled to our opinion. I come from a place where it rained 6 days a year, so the rest of the time was sunny, sunny, sunny. I'm not saying, again, the climate here is lovely. I love all this green. I love the flowers. I love it all. I hate getting wet when I go outside. That's okay. You can love two things. It's fine. You can, you know, enjoy one thing while complaining about it. I mean, that's, you know, that's life. We can talk about it. It's okay. It's cool, right? Can we talk about it? Can we all be cool about it? All right. So, can we talk about customer service or the lack thereof? Customer service. I feel like people are going to come at me on this one again, but you know, it's okay. You can. I've had my experiences. You have yours, and that's cool. Let me give you just one example. I remember when we were first here, my husband and I went out to get a pizza. We were in the city center, and we were in a, you know, like a decent restaurant, like nothing super fancy, but nothing like, not McDonald's either. And we had been seated at our table and waited probably for 15 or 20 minutes, and nobody was coming to bring us our menu. And then there was a person working there, a lady, and she was cleaning off the table next to us. And my husband, very politely, he is like ultra polite, very politely, he said, "Excuse me, miss, when you have a moment, do you think that you could bring us a menu?" And this lady turned around and she goes, "Don't you see I'm busy?" And we're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I really apologize to you that I came to your place of business and bothered you." Like, it was just shocking. And there are other times that I've experienced this, you know, walking into like a Mango or a Zara or like a shop, you know, and then there will be two people who work there, like behind the cash register, talking to each other, completely ignoring the customers, you know, and then if you say like, excuse me, they'll be like, no, you know, they're on their cell phone or texting. And I'm like, I feel like I'm bothering people when I need to ask them something at their job about their job, in the service industry in particular. There are also times that I've had good service, great experiences. I'm not saying that that doesn't happen, but the times that I will have experienced bad customer service definitely happens more often than not. Again, it's what you're used to and what you're expecting. And you know, in the States, I've heard people comment here that it's overwhelming in the States, that people are like too like in your face with that. But I don't know, for me, it feels good to walk into a place and say, hey, how you doing? If you need any help, can you let me know? I'm happy to help you find the product that you're looking for if you need help. Now go ahead and shop on your own, but I'm here if you need me. Like, I'm like, thank you. You know, that's nice. Like, it's kind. Like, it makes me feel welcome in your place of business and not, excuse me, I am, you know, doing something and you're just, why did you have to come in at this moment? I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll go spend money somewhere else. Like, I'm sorry, you know, it's an uncomfortable feeling. It does not, I don't know. Anyway, enough about that. Moving on. The last two, I'm just going to group them together. They're very small. They're nothing that exciting, but it was weird for me to come to the Netherlands and learn that you guys don't use checks, like those pieces of paper that you write on them and you write, I owe Albert Heijn 100 euros. Here you go. Like whatever it is. You guys don't do checks, and fine. I got used to it, but that was a surprise. You know, where I come from, people for your birthday or for Christmas or whatever, they will write you a check and put it in a card, and then you take it to the bank and you cash that check. And people have wanted to give us gifts in the past of, you know, when I was pregnant or for a baby shower or whatever it was, people wanted to give us money gifts. And we had to say, okay, but please, you can't give it to me in a check because they don't recognize that here, or you know, it's just not something that's done here. Also, in a former job that I had, working with an American company, oftentimes people would say, okay, where money was like being passed back and forth, they would say, okay, cut us a check or write us a check. And then we had to explain every single time, we don't have checks in the Netherlands. So that was a little bit of a weird thing for me. It doesn't matter. I actually find it much easier not to have checks, and much easier just to pin stuff or ticky stuff. Like, that's great. It works perfect. But you know, when you come from a country that has something to a country that totally doesn't have it, like it was a bit of a shock. And then to go along with that, it was a shock for me that people in the Netherlands, and I don't think that's a Netherlands thing only, I think it's maybe European, maybe, but I've only lived and worked in the Netherlands from a European country standpoint, so I don't know, but salaries are paid one time per month, and you have to budget your money all month long. Like, no, that was a toughie. The first time, you know, like, because in the States, you get paid either every week or every 2 weeks. But, you know, so you don't have to budget for as long. But yeah, I remember those first few months, like, you get that salary and I'm like, woohoo, you know, I have all this money. And then 3 weeks goes by and I'm like, oh my goodness, I did not budget well. I'm going to have no money for the next week or whatever. And it was just, it was definitely something that I had to get used to. It was a bit of a shock. So yeah, you guys, I'm sure that there's more. Maybe I'll make a subsequent video, but these were kind of like the biggest ones. So number 13 is one that I still cannot get used to. And that is that in most homes and in public restaurants, toilets, like public bathrooms, the only water that you can wash your hands with is cold. Like, there's no warm water option with which you can wash your hands. This blows my mind. Like, I don't understand how you guys can tolerate washing your hands with freezing water in wintertime. Like, it is just so cold. The skin on my hands gets all broken, and I need like 25 hand creams just to like please my skin. Like, it is so cold. I can't do it. And in fact, when we built our new build house where we live now, we had warm water for every toilet as well. And I don't mean toilet where you sit. I mean toilet like in the sink of the toilet room. Installed so that we can wash our hands with warm temperature water when we wash our hands. So this to me is a surprise, a culture shock. Why is that? Is it just to save money? But I mean, like, I understand wanting to save money, but at the expense of your skin, like, it's just so painful and unpleasant for me to wash my hands with freezing cold water. So anyway, number 13 on my list of culture shocks, and something that I still continue to struggle with even after living here all this time: freezing cold water for your hands in the bathrooms. All right, you guys, and this is in response to the comments that I've seen on last week's video about not beating around the bush, about being direct, and about doing things just like saying it as it is. So here you go. That's not necessarily my style, but I'm gonna try to be more Dutch and tell you something how I really see it, okay? I have lived in a lot of different countries. I've traveled all over the world. Never in my life have I seen a place where people pick their nose more in public. And this is just crazy. I remember sitting on the train from Den Haag to Amsterdam Zuid every morning, and I like to sit on the silent train, and that was usually filled with people who were working in the Amsterdam Zuid area. Everybody dressed super nice, super fancy. Well, see last week's video for that. But people dressed in suits and, things like that, picking their noses like as if it's nothing. And I'm not talking like where you kind of like maybe scratch the side of your nose and like something. No, I'm talking like knuckle deep into their nose, cleaning their noses, and then inspecting what they find, like as if it's nothing, and just so publicly, and like feeling no shame. I am, what do you call it? I think there's even an expression in Dutch called replacement shame. Somebody told me that once, and that's how I feel. When I see people behaving like that, I feel replacement shame. So there you go. What do you think about that, Dutchies? Is that direct enough? It's super gross. I don't get it. But that is culture shock number 14, and I'm curious to hear your comments about that in particular. As I said, I really love living here. I love the Netherlands. I love the Dutch way of life. It would be very, very difficult for me to move back to the United States. And maybe one day I will make a video about that. But it doesn't mean that it wasn't hard, because it was. It was very hard for me when we moved here. Not just because of the culture shock. For me specifically, I moved here, well, my husband and I moved here with a job, but we worked in international criminal law, and in the international criminal law world, you very often move from country to country to country. You go with rule of law and like with where the conflicts are, and you do this kind of thing, and it's normal. So when we moved here, honestly, I never expected that we would end up living here for as long as we have and making this our permanent home. I admit that I did not maybe take the steps necessary to integrate myself in that moment, that maybe I should have. And looking back, I regret not doing them. I regret not learning Dutch when I moved here. And here I am now 10 years later, and I still don't speak Dutch. It is embarrassing, and it is not acceptable, in my own opinion. My life circumstances in this very moment don't allow me to learn Dutch, but I will. I will get there. I promise. It is on my list, and I want to. It just has to wait maybe another couple of years, and then I will speak. I will make a video in Dutch, full Dutch, one day. You will see it. Take my word. But anyway, it did take me a while to get here, to get used to being here, to get used to the way of life here, and I do love it, and I really encourage people to do whatever they can to integrate as quickly as possible. That said, excuse me if you hear my kids downstairs. They're playing with Papa and being wild. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something, and I hope you will teach me something and tell me in the comments all the things that I got wrong or that I misinterpreted, or why I should understand that things are the way they are. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like me and you like my channel, please click that subscribe button. It makes me very happy. It means a lot to me. Thank you to everyone who already does that, and you guys are the best. So thank you so much for everything, for your comments, for your interaction with me. I hope you enjoyed spending some time with me in my home, and I hope you will come over again soon. So thank you, I'm grateful, and I will talk to you in the next one. Bye.